Good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. I'm here with John Flanagan in Offaly History Centre today, and we're talking about the film that was made to mark the 1966 parade commemorating 1916. It was a very special occasion for Tullamore, and I'm asking John here to give us his recollections about the day and the people involved and so on. John.
Michael, well, I can remember it clearly. First of all, it was a lovely day, and there was a massive crowd that came into Tullamore from all over the county. They were from all over the county. They were from Edenderry and from Dangan and from Coolderry and from Cullen and Bore and Kilcormac and Bannerher. And there was a lot of names there that we would have known and associated with the IRA and the activities of the IRA during 1916 on up to 1920. You had people like Brennans and Kellys and Kellevis and Brackens, and I can go on. Martin Poland and his wife were very much involved in it, and Minox and all that type of name. Those are all Tullamore names. And then you had people from the Bore area, Spains and Lucknans and all them. Those people, Edenderry would have had people, O'Connors and different names like that. But I wouldn't have known those people personally, Michael. But I would have known that they were associated with the IRA. Listening to Paddy Malloy, my wife's uncle, would refer to them on occasions, and he was involved in Jimmy Clark was very much involved in it, and the Spains were involved in it, and they'd meet and Jack Drum, even although Jack would have been on the opposite side.
And we're looking here, John, actually at a photograph of Jack Drum laying a reed with Tom Fleming from Clara.
Tom Fleming with Clara. The Flemings were a very prominent name in Clara through activities of many organisations that were involved in the GA, that were involved in the IRA activities. And I remember Matt Fleming and a lot of the Flemings, and I worked with some of them actually.
Well, of course, John, you were in the building trade for many years and employed lots of men around the county in your various schemes. Yeah. And I suppose you recall that day in 1966 and the laying of the wreath and the celebrations in Bore. I suppose you hardly got down to those, did you?
No, I didn't actually. Michael, I wasn't very much involved at that time in politics myself. At that time, 66 would have been, I would have had a family that would have involved a lot of time looking at my wife, and I was involved in the pipe band, and we were probably there as a pipe band on that occasion.
Yes, I think there was about 5 bands that day, and certainly the pipers were included.
There may well have been, and I think there was a band actually from Mullingar there that day, and there was a band at that time in Mount Boris, as far as I can remember, and I'm nearly sure they would be there. But it was a very special occasion, and there was a lot of discussions and chats and talks going on by people about certain activities that took place, back in 16.
So we'll go on now to look at some of the photographs of the period. The committee, first of all, I'll just recall the names there for you. There was Michael Kavanagh, I think he was a teacher, wasn't he?
He was a teacher in Durrow.
And then there was Jack Drum was on the committee. We've mentioned him. Now, one of the men I see on the committee and who's still happily with us is Sean Brannock, the teacher.
Yes, Sean Brannock.
And Frank Doody, of course, was connected with the movement, wasn't he?
Jim Doody's father.
And Paddy Minnock then was the committee secretary.
Yeah, well, he would have been Clara Road, yeah.
And then there was a Willie Dunn was involved in.
Willie Dunn above High Street.
I see Lar Byrne was a member. He was a councillor, of course.
I was on the council with Lar myself, and his son young Lar followed him on.
And there was Johnny Kilmartin, the builder.
Johnny was very much involved in that sort of activity.
And Tom Galvin, of course.
Galvin would have been, yes. Tom lived in Arden.
Donal O'Carroll, of course, was on the cultural side.
Donal O'Carroll.
And Mrs. Grogan was another lady.
Yeah, she could have been from Muckla now, or from...
And Mrs. Dan Doolan, you remember Mrs. Dan Doolan?
Yeah.
Michael Noel Byrne, of course, was concerned.
Yeah, Michael Noel Byrne, yeah.
So that was the lineup of the committee, and there's a photograph of them that we're looking at now, but those pictures were not so well reproduced in the papers at that time.
No.
So now we're coming on to the black and white stills from the picture the film.
In the centre there, Michael, you have Dan Malloy.
Yes.
That'd be Dan Malloy. He would be the father of Donald Malloy's now, and the people in Esker Hills.
Very good.
And that man in the very front there, that face is very familiar to me. I have a feeling he might be one of the Kelevis.
This one here...
Nicholas Egan is there now.
Is that Dan Hogan in the front row?
Dan Hogan there. Yeah. Dan Hogan and Johnny Kilmartin.
And Johnny Kilmartin in the back, right.
Yeah. And
the young lad, I think, is Martin Gillick. You know, the Gillick family in Pierce Park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on to the next one then. Well, that's a well-known face in Tullamore.
Yeah.
Donald O'Carroll.
Donald O'Carroll, Technical School.
The headmaster there.
The headmaster there, yeah.
He's presenting an award to a lady from Putchahan there, Miss Conroy.
Melda Conroy.
Melda Conroy.
Yeah, Ned Conroy's daughter. Yeah, Ned Conroy's
Irish
daughter.
dancing.
Yeah.
And of course, they were included in the film, which is about 20 minutes long, pictures from around the town. And this is the High Cross at Durrow, which has been moved inside.
It's inside in
the
bit now. Yeah, that's that man there now on the left is Sean Kelly
from Muckle, is it?
Well, I think the address would be Bunnaturn. I worked for that man. He was a builder. He was actually a carpenter by trade, and quite a good one.
And that's Enda Bracken reading the proclamation. You probably remember his father, Pather Bracken.
Pather Bracken.
He was a clerk in the.
He was a clerk in the
court clerk.
He was court clerk.
District court.
His daughter only died this year. She lived in the north of Ireland. She used to come down on a regular basis to visit the grave on Cemetery Sunday.
And that's Monsignor Lennon. You probably remember.
Yes,
he was here for a few years.
He was here.
In the mid-60s, wasn't it, anyway? He was
correct.
65, I think, because he succeeded Dr. Moore.
And that man there with the glasses beside him.
Well, he'd be Canon Waterstone.
Oh, yeah.
He was Reverend Waterstone.
Reverend Waterstone. I knew that face.
He's a Kerry man, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a Kerry man, and he lived in the church in Lane Alley.
Oh, yes, until his death in recent times.
And I think still may well be somebody belonging to him still living there. In Lane Alley.
And that's a close-up of Enda Bracken.
Enda Bracken, yeah.
His father had fought in 1916.
Well, his sister now is the lady that used to come down every August for Cemetery Sunday. And she spent a bit of time here in Tullamore going around talking to people. That was the old Garda station. That's Jack Roach there in the middle there,
yes.
Michael. Yeah.
Yes, and hard to put names on those other people there, but...
Well,
it's outside the Tullamore Drapery Company where Sidney Shampoo.
Jack Roach had a boat on the canal, and he used to go to Dublin with turf or with grain or whatever, very regular, and a horse boat, and that was.
And this is your friend, Mr. Kelevi.
Michael Kelevi, he was a councillor.
We don't know the others, so if anybody knows those names, you might send them on to us.
Sure, yeah.
And that's another view.
That's Michael Kelevi, yeah.
His family, of course, were very prominent in the 1916-23 period.
They were indeed, yeah.
And that's Mick Forrestal, isn't it? And I think that might be a man from Kilbride Street, possibly Noel O'Connor. He died.
Oh, yeah, right. At that time, there was a fairly active LDF. I think that probably might be winding up.
That was the local defence force.
Correct. John O'Connor, he was a postman. He was very much active. I think that man in there on the left, his name could be Seary.
Seary, yes.
Could be Jim Seary.
And that's a close-up of Monsignor Lenihan.
Monsignor Lenihan, yeah. He was very
nice man. And that's another one with one of the ministers in Stanley or Bradshaw.
Oh, right. I didn't know them now.
No.
That's Nicholas Egan. Nicholas Egan. He was from Croghan. He had a farm there just at the bottom of Croghan Hill. Ger Connolly replaced him.
Some of the organising committee in that one.
See that man in the middle up there on the top? I think he was one of the Smiths from the Loch.
I wonder though, I thought it wouldn't be Jack Roach again. Maybe not.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll see.
yeah.
And that's Mr. Minnock again,
That's
and
Paddy Minnock.
Michael Noel Byrne, isn't it?
Yes, correct. He's
Yeah.
there in that. Michael Tullamore was very active all his life. And
Don't know the young man with the hard hat, I suppose.
no, can't put a name on him.
That's our friends again from
Yeah.
the council.
That's right.
Yeah,
To Johnny Horn.
Johnny Horn and Pat Minnock.
Johnny Horn worked in the council all his life there.
And coming on to the next, there are a number of nice group scenes in this film.
Yeah.
And I think this is, you probably know this man at the back with the moustache.
Yeah.
It's Clara Road man, wasn't it?
Toner, Jim
Yeah.
Toner.
And this might be a Mrs. Pender, would it? And her son and daughter-in-law, the
Yeah.
Pender family.
Yeah.
And this might be Margot Pender, otherwise Lynch, I think.
Oh.
I'm sure you know them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's another close-up of better
It's
one of
Jim Toner.
Toner.
Jim Toner.
They were out in the Moor Hill, weren't they?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That
Yeah.
lives there.
Is that Tom Galvin? Is it,
Tom Galvin. He lived in Ireland.
Now this man here, the young man to the left, looks like a man who worked in Tom Gilson's. And that's another difficult one for us. That's Egan.
That's
yeah.
Egan there, yeah.
The courthouse steps.
Yeah. Right.
Now we have a few more street scenes from Columkill Street of young people.
Right.
Maybe they'll recognise themselves if they're looking at YouTube.
That's right.
And the same here.
Can't put a name on that one, Michael.
Yeah, he could have been visiting.
Yeah.
And that's another one. Now, there are a few people in that you might know.
Yeah.
There was a man had a shop.
That's Tommy
in-
Duffy.
Duffy.
That's Tommy Duffy and his
Yeah.
wife there on the right.
Yeah. That might be Seamus Houlihan. Maybe. It has
Yeah.
a look of him, but
Yeah.
possibly not.
No, not unlike him.
Anyway, we carry on another hard one for you. Street scene with youngsters.
Right.
Again, maybe looking at YouTube might be
Yeah.
able to spot who
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Sure.
The backdrop is the GEA
Yeah. Correct.
flag, but
Oh.
again, it's difficult to put names on.
That's
the people
right.
there. Well, that one now was taken in Columkill Street because you can just see the backdrop of
All
the
right.
Hayes Hotel
All right.
there in it. FCA then. This would be down in O'Carroll Street
Right.
and St. Philomena's School in the background.
Right. Right.
Now, these are members of the old IRA.
I think that's Roddy Larkin there on the
Roddy
right.
Larkin,
I think
very
it
good.
is. It's like him.
And you can see the Knights of Malta band
All right.
behind.
All right.
I can see Mick Forrestal behind in that shot. We saw
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
earlier.
That's right.
And of course we saw that one with Donald O'Carroll.
Donald.
Another one of people of Tullamore, but
Yeah. Right.
not easy to name them.
That's right.
Now this one here might be more familiar. I can see
See that? Is that Jackie Finlay there in the
well,
front?
that's Jackie Finlay, yes.
And Owen Marin. You have
And
Owen
Owen
Marin.
Marin is
Yeah.
there.
And behind Jackie Finlay is.
I think that man lived in Marion Place or Pierce Park, did he?
Oh yeah.
And this man here was a Mr. McLaughlin from Clontarf Road, I think. So maybe others watching this will be able to help us with those.
Oh,
names.
there's no doubt there's people out there that know most of those.
Jackie, of course, was here in the centre a few years ago because he did a book of
He did.
memoirs.
He
yeah.
did, and
He
he
was
did
from
it,
Dillon Street,
did it very well. That's
This-
Donald. I think that's Donald Dunn there.
Donald Dunn.
And that man is Mike
McNamara.
Namara. Mike
yes,
Namara from
yeah.
Spallinstown.
But that might be Mick Forrestal again. Do you remember
Oh,
we
Mick
saw
Forrestal,
him?
yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
think we will have one of Donald Dunn. The
Yeah.
man in the centre I don't know.
No, can't
He
place
was one
him.
of the younger member of the Foresters.
Can't place him.
They're all wearing the sash, aren't they,
Yeah,
of the Foresters?
Yeah.
You weren't in that, were you, the Foresters?
I was a member of the Foresters for a few years.
And you were a member of the pipe band for a long number of years.
About 5. Yeah, the Foresters. And the Foresters were a good club then, indeed. The chief ranger was Jimmy Flaherty.
Oh, Jimmy, yes.
Kevin O'Toole was very involved in it. Willie Hughes was very much involved in it.
And this is another view of William Street when it was Scally's at one time.
Scally's.
And then Gleason's after that.
That was 60.
Oh, Melville's actually, I mislead you.
Yeah, Melville's took it over in the 60s. Yeah. Just imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't know who that man with the...
Played the motor, yeah.
And other members of the old IRA.
Yeah.
Now, they're members of the county council, and you mentioned the name of Donald Dunn earlier.
Yes.
I think that would that be him with
the flag.
And maybe that's Dan Hogan to his right.
Yes.
And you had, I think you
and
had...
that man in the middle there, I'm nearly sure his name would be Spain from Kilcormac.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And would that be Allo O'Brennan there?
That could be.
Very like him.
Very like him, yeah.
Although he wasn't on the county.
And I think the man in the back corner there could be Willie Rossiter. See, back in the back corner.
Yes.
Yeah, Willie Rossiter.
Very
He
good.
worked in the council. Yeah.
So I think we saw these men before.
Yeah.
We didn't put names on them. We saw that one. That's Seamus O'Brennan, I think, in the centre.
Yeah, it could be.
Those women, I understand, are from Croghan.
Oh.
On that day, a lot of the civil defence, the women in the civil defence were charged with looking after all the catering end of things in the 1960s.
Yeah.
And the tin mugs, of course, were something that everybody used for outdoor activities. You probably remember them, the old tin mugs that they were carrying.
Don't remind me. Lucky if you had one.
And this is from a nice view from outside Tom Kennedy's. Do you remember that shop?
I do indeed.
In Bridge Street.
Duggins.
Duggins,
Yeah.
Now there is another view of the stand. That man, we were wondering, was it Jack Roach or one of the Smiths?
Yeah.
And Paddy Minnock again.
Paddy Minnock is there, yeah.
Yeah. And this is the Folly. This is taken in the courthouse, isn't it?
Right.
With the Old Acres Folly in the background.
Right.
And this place in Henry Street or Carroll Street, you can see the old houses that where the office block is now that you constructed.
Yeah, correct.
Just here.
Yeah.
That's where Sergeant Cronin lived in 1920.
That's right. He lived a bit further down.
When he was shot.
Yeah, he lived a bit further down.
And this is the plaque that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah, right.
Marking where the first shot was fired.
Yeah, right.
Was there a lot about that, just coming to a conclusion about where the first shot was fired when you were a youngster?
Believe it or not, there wouldn't have been as much about it as there was about other activities. No, there wouldn't have been as much about it. But
you knew Tommy Clark, didn't you?
I knew Tommy Clark very well.
Yeah.
Well, they all the Clarks were involved in the old area. Jimmy Clark and there was Paddy Clark, and they were all involved.
And John Spain was involved.
John Spain was very much involved in it. Martin Poland and his wife. His wife was a McBride. They were very much involved in it. There was a few of them women very much involved in the ladies' branch of the whole IRA. The McBrides, they were, and the Brackens.
And the last picture we're looking at there, I think it's one of the Dolan family. They lived over the Dolan's pharmacy.
That would be Leonard Dolan.
Leonard Dolan, yes.
And it could be his brother.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can remember that face now, all right, because I was only talking to him the day before yesterday.
And the pipe band, of course, that you were very much a part of. But whether it's your band or another visiting band.
That's right.
It might be an army band.
Well, sure.
The Foresters, of course, with their lovely... there's, I think you mentioned Kevin O'Toole a moment ago. That might be him there.
That is Kevin O'Toole.
Don't know this other man. You do.
Yeah.
I can remember Jimmy Flaherty, but...
Oh, Jimmy Flaherty. And Joe Conroy, the postman.
So it was a memorable day.
Oh, it was a time. But Michael, all of that activity was discussed in every household across the county.
Yes, and I think that's definitely Allo O'Brennan in that picture.
That's right, that's Allo O'Brennan.
Because he and his brother Seamus and two other brothers were very much involved initially in the Pipers band.
They were. Well, Allo was very much involved in it when I was in it. Discipline was important, and he made sure that we were all complying with the rules and keeping ourselves clean and marching correctly, and he just keep you standing up straight and all that sort of stuff.
He was in charge of the dole office, wasn't he?
He was.
In his latter years.
He was in charge of
was a teacher.
Social welfare office, yeah.
His family have given an amount of material to the archives connected with the 1916 period.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me that they'd have it.
So I want to thank John for his contribution this afternoon, and I do hope that you've enjoyed it, and that those of you who have been looking at the pictures may be able to help us to identify these ones we have missed out on. Yeah. And of course the full film of about 20 minutes can be looked at on this site at Offaly History's YouTube site. So you can enjoy it there, and you'll see other characters in that we have not viewed today. So go and have a look and enjoy it, and email us if you have more suggestions or names for us at info@offalyhistory.com. And thank you very much, John, and thank you all.